After the death of Vladimir Lenin, who was the Soviet Union leader and head of the Bolshevik Party, Stalin begins to fight his way to political success, eventually declared himself dictator in 1929. Members of the Bolshevik Party begin to question Stalin's authority. Stalin begins to view those with ties to the Bolsheviks or Lenin's government as a threat. Historians speculate whether Stalin was motivated to carry out the purge and attempt to maintain his authority, or whether he felt the need to do so due to the rise of foreign powers, such as Nazi Germany and Japan, in an attempt to unify and strengthen the country.
Who? Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin fought to claim leadership after Soviet leader Vladimir Lenin died and ultimately claimed himself dictator in 1929. Several questioned his authority, while Stalin believed anyone with ties to the former ruling Bolshevik Party was a threat. He led the Great Purge, a political campaign that sought to eliminate dissenting members of the Communist Party and anyone else he considered a risk. What? The Great Purge. It was from 1936 to 1938. The Great Purge was a campaign of political oppression that involved genocidal attacks against minorities, imprisonment, and arbitrary executions. Estimates of the number of deaths range from 680,000 to 1,200,000.
The Great Purge took place in the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, also known as the USSR or the Soviet Union. This was located in present-day Russia. This whole ordeal began when Sergei Kirov, a Russian Soviet politician who was in power at the time, was assassinated in St. Petersburg, Russia. This is the same place where the Bolshevik Party, commonly known as the Communist Party, first seized power. The gulags, which were concentration camps made by Stalin, were located in Siberia and the far north. The far north is the part of Russia located north of the Arctic Circle and is characterized by an abundance of natural and mineral resources. The Great Terror began in the mid-1930s. This was shortly after Stalin declared himself the absolute ruler of the Soviet Union after the death of Vladimir Lenin. This was a period of time where the world was in complete turmoil. The United States was in the Great Depression after the stock market crashed in 1929. The Jews were being persecuted in Germany after Adolf Hitler passed a series of oppressive laws. With all this going on, Joseph Stalin wanted to prove himself powerful and strong, but he was still paranoid of being oppressed and the potentials of war from Germany, who were aggressive in nature, and Japan, who would expand their borders by any means necessary.
So, outcome. In conclusion, as a result of the Great Purge, Joseph Stalin's main goal of this purge was to become the greatest dictator of all time by installing a system of fear without the Soviet Union. So, by doing this, he felt as if basically if everyone was afraid of him, then he wouldn't have no problem with people wanting to overtake or question his authority. So also, another way that Stalin instilled this system of fear was that he made it to where innocent people were or had to testify on other innocent people. And these people were sometimes captured and even tortured into telling what they little did they know or didn't know. And even if they didn't know anything, it really didn't matter. So you had people who honestly have no honest clue what was going on, and yet they were captured against their will. And by doing this, Stalin created his government or environment of fear, and this led to like mass paranoia and fear throughout the people. So Stalin's liquidation, or like basically the killing of experienced military leaders during the purge, was one of the big factors or major factors of contributing to the poor performance of the Soviet Union forces. So at the same time, what Stalin's plan was based. So you had members of the Communist Party, and also you had a lot of politically strong leaders, and Stalin's plan was to take anyone who's seen as a threat, and he wanted to kill all of them. And so by doing this led to the Soviet Union or the Soviet Army without any leadership powers. And ironically, this was the reason that Stalin wasn't successful as he hoped to be. So, the NKVD, or also known as the Soviet Police, they issued out an order, and it was the order number 00486, and it was called Traitors of the Motherland. So, this was an order sent out to basically arrest the wives of people who committed treason, or the husband who's committed treason, the wives and kids of those. And they were basically sent to labor camps against their will. And this led to overcrowded orphanages around the country. So the country was filled with runaway orphans, and this led to increase in juvenile delinquency. And so a lot of people were sent to labor camps, and labor camps, they were called gulags. So a lot of people were sent to gulags around the country to accommodate for different categories of relatives, such as wives, elderly, and children.